Warning, there will be spoilers for Deltarune Chapter 5, Normal and Weird Route, so go and play it first before you watch this video. Deltarune's newest chapter is genuinely insane. The music is banging, the story is goated, and the implications are wild. Speaking of implications, the Weird Route showed something very interesting. So, let's go into a quick recap, or go to the timestamp if you already know what happens. But I did put a spoiler warning, so you should know. To recap the Weird Route in Chapter 5, Chris stumbles out of bed in the evening to the festival, which is already over, and Noelle and Susie have gone on their date. But before you can go to the beach, you need to talk to one person specifically, and that's Sans, who makes you fill out the punch card, which solidifies for sure that since Deltarune is Sans undertale with a checked off Chekhov's gun. After Trick and Tony's railroading, we get to the lake where we see Noelle. She talks about how she's basically been in autopilot ever since Des disappeared, and how no one has noticed that Chris has changed, which leads to us actually being told by Noelle to go deeper into the lake, which causes the screen to blur and go white, with the soul being the last thing visible. After which this screen shows up, telling us to insert Chapter 7, Side B. This might have seemed short, and that's because it is. The Weird Route in this chapter was stupidly short, and yet there was so much to talk about. I'm aware most people think the bread is more important, and think Noelle and Chris are going out of bounds, but I have a different interpretation. So then, what does this stupidly cryptic scene actually mean? I feel like, potentially, the lake in Hometown could be the source of the Dark Worlds. While this idea might not be new, I feel like Chapter 5 all but confirmed it, unless you're a deep-rooted bread believer. But to everyone else, you're probably wondering, how would anybody ever think of something so intelligent? I will absolutely subscribe to you because you rule. Actual quote, by the way, not edited at all. So then, let's start from the top. I think it's best if I start by gathering pieces of evidence that will help this case, so we can slowly build up to the main point. Starting with number 1. Darkness has always been interesting in Deltarune. From the start, it was shrouded in mystery, as we had no way of knowing how dark fountains were even formed. Except for the end of Chapter 2, but that's besides the point. Despite this, a picture of darkness has been built up, mainly with parallels to water, interestingly enough. The dark fountain's name and function are literally like water fountains, which spew water from the ground. This immediately compared darkness to water, in which it goes from areas of high pressure and high amounts of darkness to low pressure and low amounts of darkness. Number 2. Next is the garbage noise. For those who don't know, garbage noise is a staticky noise that plays in a few spots, and though not relevant right now, has a strong connection to Gaster and also probably the night. So here's a few seconds of it. I think you get the idea. A few major places it plays are in the Dark Worlds when you try to use your phone, at the bunker, which interestingly enough has been shown to have a dark world inside, and in Carol's basement. It was also said to be heard on Spamton's phone, which strengthens the connections to the night, but that isn't important. Number 3. The last piece of evidence comes from every chapter, actually. Except 3, but that's besides the point. At the end of most chapters, Dark Fountain gets sealed. In some, this happens a few times, and in others, this pattern gets broken in every way, I guess. But the important thing is that when a fountain is sealed, the screen turns to white, and the only thing visible is the soul. Also, a bonus, because I didn't really know where to stick it in. The image that is behind the Gunner Maker sequence, the Dark Fountains, and the Prophecy panels is called the Depths, which interestingly enough is taken from an image of water. So then, how do these contribute to the lake being some kind of supermassive black hole, or like a really big dark fountain? Well, let me explain. With those pieces gathered, how does this relate to the lake being the source of darkness? First of all, darkness and water have been compared so much that the link feels it's meant to convey a deeper point than just to grasp the idea of darkness. Because if the latter was true, it probably would have only been used briefly to explain darkness rather than constantly coming back up. As well as the picture that's literally used to portray pure darkness and is associated with John Darkness himself is taken from an actual picture of water. So, if water and darkness seem to be so strongly related, is it not a stretch to say that maybe the source of water in Hometown could also be the source of all the darkness? As well as this, another source comes from someone who seems to have as much meta knowledge as Rouse, and that's Flowery. With him being the weird shit that he is, he said that something dark is brewing beneath Hometown, which could be the noise heard in Carol's basement, which was the garbage noise. And I would seriously doubt that Carol would have a sub-basement to her basement that's also a dark world, mainly because her conspiracy board, which you would think would be super secret, is just in her bedroom. So then, what could be the source of this sound that's so strongly related to darkness, if not darkness itself? And every house needs to have plumbing infrastructure. So, there's darkness in the pipes of the Holiday House, which also carry fresh water from seemingly a freshwater supply like a lake. So unless Gaster's a sewer rat crawling underneath Carol's house, I think it's pretty safe to say that we hear the darkness flowing beneath Carol's house because of the lake. Before we get to how the weird route affects this, there's one more point I want to talk about. In Chapter 5, before entering the Castletown Dark World, you can have the chance to interact with the water fountain, where it says, the fountain was sealed. While this is definitely a joke on Toby's part, some other stupidly absurd theories, like the stupid friend inside me theory that can't seem to go away, got proven to be correct. So maybe there's a deeper meaning to this joke. Now, time for things to get weird. Like the route. As I said earlier, when banishing a Titan or Titan spawn, or even closing a fountain, the screen fades to white and the only thing visible is a soul, which is really similar to what happens at the end of the weird route. While the end of the weird route is definitely more extreme, with the screen blurring and shaking significantly and audio distorting as this happens. Something pretty similar actually does happen when you banish a Titan, where the screen does shake a little bit because of how big the Titan really is. Though admittedly, the audio doesn't distort. The only issue with this is, if the lake truly had a dark fountain, wouldn't they need to be in the dark world to actually seal it? And the answer is probably. In order to seal dark fountains, Chris had to be right next to them. And to banish Titans, Chris had to be inside of them. So I doubt Chris could just do a quick stop and go to stop all darkness. However, if the lake truly is the source of all darkness, I feel like it'd be more like a pit of darkness rather than a dark fountain. Essentially meaning all of the darkness in the lake is basically just a dark fountain, leaving no room for a dark world. Really, the only evidence for this is the Gunner Maker sequence, which appears to be in the depths. So if the lake's the depths, then all of the lake would have to be the depths. I'll admit, there isn't much support in this idea, but what there is really compelling. We've talked about how the weird route affects this theory, so let's do the opposite. How does this theory affect the weird route? Keep in mind the weird route was probably only meant to be played after beating Deltarune, which is impossible. So everything will have to be speculation, but that's nothing new. First of all, having the source for Dark World to be taken away would stop Chris and presumably the Knight from enacting their plans, which is still pretty unclear. As Russell said, it's not causing the ruin, because they just could have done so already, and they clearly don't need the bunker codes, since they had to open the bunker to take Undyne into it. I won't get too deep into this, because trying to figure out Chris's motives is an entirely different can of worms. Whatever Chris and the Knight's plans may be, it most likely is meant to follow the prophecy, as Chris created the Chapters 3 and Chapters 5 Dark World, which caused the entire Tenna and Asgore prophecies to become true. So then, is the weird route just an extremist way of trying to break the prophecy? Yeah, it is. That's the point of the raid route, trying to break the game with extreme measures, which would involve breaking the prophecy. Because the raid route needed such extreme measures to actually beat the darkness, probably tells us that the normal route might not succeed in stopping the prophecy, or at least fail to do it in such a non-violent way as Rouse hopes that they can do. As Toby Fox has insisted, Deltarune will only have one ending, and that it's more about the methods used to obtain the ending more than the actual ending itself. With this, something in Chapter 7 will probably happen that's at least similar to the end of the weird route, whether it's the banishment of darkness permanently or something else that we don't know, because like I said, Deltarune isn't finished. And the weird route's only meant to be a side B, just like two sides of the same coin, equal opposites. Speaking of side B, what does the very last screen of the weird route even mean? Like the insert Chapter 7 side B screen. First of all, there's a good chance it's probably just a placeholder for now, since I think the weird route is actually complete, and once Chapter 7 comes out, it'll flow normally and play a normal cutscene, just like the Tenna and Flowery introductions. This ending cutscene will probably be an epilogue, sort of like the ending of Undertale's neutral routes in some way, though I thought it would be no show all yap. Though, there could be a different interpretation, because this screen is very different from anything else in Deltarune, and if Toby Fox just wanted to put a placeholder screen, he definitely could have, especially along the lines of any other to be continued in chapter blah 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 screen. So maybe, and this is just an idea, somebody who has the power to talk to the soul directly, and has an overview of this world, would show us what happened after we left, like a pre-recorded message. If only there was somebody who fit this description and conditions. I just realized after writing most of this video, this is basically just toilet theory, and like, great minds think alike. I swear I'm not trying to copy Cammy, but this is really just toilet theory, isn't it? If you want to call this my take on toilet theory, go ahead, but the new additions in Chapter 5 felt pretty strange and honestly supported his theory quite a lot. I'll have it linked below because it's really good, even if the name is questionable, and even if I just accidentally copied it. Oh wow, it's the end of the video now, would you look at that? This is probably one of the longest videos I've actually scripted, so subscribing would be nice. I mean, you're hearing this right now, so you've probably liked me enough, right? Unless you just put me on for background noise, then like, how's Minecraft house going, or lunch, or whatever. Either way, click here for something else. Even if it's not Deltarune, it's still probably pretty good. Who knows? Just keep in mind that my mic low-key sucked at this time, so yeah. Not to close myself or anything.